For this session, let me introduce to you our session moderator, Ms. Surekha Bihani, Managing Director, East India JLL. Give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Surekha heads JLL growth in Eastern India. Her responsibilities include providing end-to-end real estate solutions for land acquisition, funding, transaction management, and exit strategies to corporate clients, developers, and investors in the East. Surekha has almost 20 years of work experience. Let me invite her on stage. Put your hands together for Surekha Bihani. I will now introduce my speakers in an alphabetical order. Please welcome Kumar Satyaki, Joint Managing Director, Eden Realty Group. Kumar Satyaki passed out from IIT Kharagpur and joined Eden Realty Group as its Joint Managing Director in 2016. Under his leadership, Eden Realty Group has delivered one of its kind refugee rehabilitation project, or Bonorini, rehabilitating 800 refugee families and 3 other projects in the last 3 years. He has the distinction of launching 10 projects apart from a few joint venture projects. Ladies and gentlemen, right here with us, Kumar Satyaki. Please put your hands together as I introduce my next speaker, Rahul Todi, Managing Director, Shrachi Group. Rahul started Shrachi Realty in 1999. Under his able leadership, the organization has become the pioneer in providing luxurious and wholesome living experience and has created a number of residential and commercial projects that have redefined the skyline of Eastern India and has now ventured into Jharkhand and Odisha. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Rahul Todi. My next speaker is Rishi Jain, Managing Director, Jain Group. Rishi is an alumnus of SP Jain Institute, Mumbai, and ISB, Hyderabad. He has studied finance from Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. At Jain Group, Rishi is entrusted with the task of developing the contemporary corporate aspects of the organization. And under his leadership, the group has shown outstanding achievements and future potential in real estate, hospitality service, and IT-enabled services. Ladies and gentlemen, Rishi Jain right here with us on the stage. My next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Yashaswi Shroff, Executive Director, Alcove Realty. Highly knowledgeable and proficient in real estate segment, Yashaswi Shroff has always aspired to be a part of the real estate industry. After a 2-year stint at Ernst & Young, he joined Alcove Realty and spearheaded the execution of the tallest completed residential building in India. And here is my question, which is the tallest residential building in Kolkata? Yes, of course, the 42. He is also the Kredai Youth Wing National Committee Head, New Construction Technology and Secretary for CYW East Zone and West Bengal State Chapter Head for PhD CCI. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for all my speakers, the last one being Yashaswi himself. I would now request our moderator to please take over the proceedings for the topic West Bengal Realty, the new possibilities.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. More louder. Good afternoon. Let's speak loudly. I think everybody is sleeping. She was absolutely right. We'll not enjoy speaking. What do you say, Rahul?
Good afternoon, everybody.
That's great.
That worked.
Perfect. So I knew, Rahul, you could do that. So I got them to do it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Realty team, for giving us this opportunity. I thank Dr. Anurag Batra and his team for organizing this action-packed event year on year. Thank you, Sapna. Personal thank you from my end. You've been a great, great support to this part of the, part of this country. And going by this, the panelists are introduced. So what we are really going to take this is that what is the new assets of real estate other than the traditional assets of office, residential, and commercial real estate that we have been doing? So we do have, we've been seeing huge surge in the warehousing segment. Last year, 2022, we saw an absorption of almost 4 million square feet in West Bengal alone. If you take the other associated states of Odisha, Northeast, especially Guwahati, and the Patna and Bihar, that area, the Jharkhand and the Bihar area, we will have another 2.5 to 3 million square feet of demand absorption. We have a lot of demand coming from schools, senior living becoming a new asset class, data centers coming in big way. So, my first question, Rahul, to you is, you've been doing this township in Bardhaman, and you've been doing such asset classes much before even we started seeing these asset classes. So what is your thought? I would want Yashaswi, you and Rahul to take this question. Is two parts on this. Out of all these asset classes, which is the asset class you think will act as a growth story for this part of the country? And why? Or maybe how?
So I do agree partly with you that many new asset classes are emerging in the real estate industry. But I think going forward, our bread and butter still remains the residential sector. When we talk about residential sector, the new asset classes within residential sector that's emerging, I feel, is super low end to super high end. So affordable housing, there's a lot of demand in that, in the residential sector. Satyaki is also here with us. I'm sure he'll be able to share some insights on that. As well as super high-end apartments, which is going for more than 25,000 rupees a square feet. Very large flat sizes. After COVID, especially, people have developed a tendency where they want larger flat spaces. So I strongly believe that residential sector remains the bread and butter and is going to propel this industry for its way forward. I think Rahul ji can help us with other sectors, his thoughts on that.
So of course, like Yashaswi said, resi and office space will remain probably the largest pie. But I think a lot of opportunities are there. And this comes from a belief. If you asked me that we entered these segments much before these have become a fad now. Primarily because I always personally believe that anything you do, whether it's a factory, whether it's a studio, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a school or hotels, they all include real estate. Nothing can move or begin without that real estate. So real estate is critical. It's about capital allocation. Now developers like us have opportunity to REIT our product. There are institutional investors available. And that's the way forward. Those are yield-generating assets. They have to be looked at differently. A developer can always encash by doing a cap rate transaction, which you guys do a lot. So those are the way forward. And I think in perspective to Bengal, besides schools, that's become a very common, we already have 2 schools which we have leased out, and we're building a couple of more, hopefully. Those will become important. A very interesting sector that is emerging and we recently got exposed is banks are wanting you to hold the storage, the currency chest. They want land and they want a bill to suit. So that's an opportunity which is developing. Warehousing, we already know. Logistics parks, we already know. Even industrial parks have become very necessary, especially for the MSME sector. Because today's new age investor wants plug and play, and that's where people like us come into action, where we can enable them, we can give them plug and play infrastructure. We've done that in residential, we've done that in offices, and now we are going to do it in industry and logistics parks, and a lot has already happened. I mean, even in Bengal and the rest of the country. The real growth opportunity which I personally see is, now we are going through two large investments or infrastructure projects in the country, the dedicated freight corridor and also the diamond quadrilateral, where new lines are being built by the railways connecting the four major cities, and all these will be integrated. So the new model or the new future is MMLPs, which are multi-modal logistic parks, where
Totally agree.
where movement from sea, inland water, railways, and national highway. And now they've signed an agreement, as we all know, between the three parties. And that, I think, is going to be huge opportunity for real estate players, not only in the MMLPs, but what about the areas around them? And we've seen globally, a Detroit was built after the manufacturing started. And now we are seeing those opportunities in smaller cities like Durgapur, Haldia, Jamshedpur, and all that. So even these MMLPs will develop an economy around them. People will start living there. So these are the opportunities going forward, I believe.
I think Rahul, very well said point on MMLP. The kind of growth story that we have in this topic is unmatchable. And what we are seeing in the years to come, the lands which were lying vacant are the lands which they are going to target. I was in a panel with the Port Trust, and Port Trust is doing something with the railways and with the waterways to do something very big in Eastern India. So these are very innovative ways, and I really agree very strongly with you that this is something which we should be looking forward to. So coming to a very point, Satyaki, what Rahul said, Yashaswi mentioned affordable housing, and Rahul said school. If you do affordable housing, you need to give infrastructure. You've been doing this segment too well for the last couple of years. I think you've specialized yourself in doing this segment. So you need to give schools, you need to provide for hospitals, and these are the alternative ways of, going ahead and creating new opportunities. But these are very intensive kind of thing. It's not that you're able to get an immediate generation. What do you think, how do you think real estate developers have to change to do this kinds of asset and provide these infrastructures for the affordable housing people that you think will be coming up in the near future or has already come up?
Good afternoon. And
Good afternoon.
see, what we at Eden Realty Group have tried with affordable housing is slightly different in this way that we have tried to do affordable housing in areas where the infrastructure is already there, the connectivity is already there, and the basic amenities, for example, schools and hospitals are all present nearby.
So I'll just rephrase. Now, suppose it's not there, then what do you think you would want to do?
All right. So, see, the number one thing is that currently for affordable housing, if we see, for the last 5 years, we have collected a lot of data regarding where the customers are looking at or where they want their properties, especially in affordable housing. And I think I have around 3 lakh data. So based on those analysis, I can tell you that the number one place that they were looking at is, of course, Newtown Rajarhat. But apart from that, they are looking in places like Joka, where again, these infrastructure is already present. And similar story is with, when they are looking towards the west, they are looking, in Howrah area. When you go towards the north, it's in the BT Road area. So all these things are there. Of course, when we go for slightly offbeat locations, there we try to see that what are the infrastructure that is missing. For example, schools are something that is missing in a lot of tier 2 cities. So schools are one of the major things that we can look at. And again, so schools do not require that larger land parcel. So that is something that we are able to achieve wherever required. And for example, a school requires a minimum of 2 acres of land in such areas. So if you are doing a township of, let's say, 20 acres, 30 acres, 50 acres, there it becomes viable to create such secondary infrastructure there. And one of the benefits of doing affordable housing is that the sale rate is currently pretty good in the city. So what that does is it helps us with the cash flow. So we are able to think about all these other secondary infrastructure or the important infrastructure that we need to think of. Actually, the cash flow helps us to implement those things.
So I'll just maybe put a statement and request you to say a yes or a no in the case of point is that, can we say that if we are doing any form of affordable housing, we should earmark a space for a good school for those people? A yes or a no?
Yes.
Yes, and it is cash driven. It's a cash driven. It's capital intensive kind of a situation, and I think what your statement says that with the sales in the affordable housing, you can take on that burden of doing a school and putting it on a long term kind of a sustainable model.
True. True.
Great. I think that's a very
Just add to that, a lot of us may not specialize in schools or hospitals or hospitality sector. So अगर मैं ऐसा कोई affordable housing project कर रहा हूँ where I feel the infrastructure does not support that for the necessary social structure of the people who are going to be inhabiting the project, I can always give out that parcel to someone who specializes in that. So today, if Rahul Bhaiya specializes in schools, I can tell him that I'm coming up with a 5,000 flat complex, and you can take up the school here. I can talk to a Fortis for medical. So I don't need to employ my capital towards there.
No, in fact, I want to correct you. We manage one school, but
I
two
was just giving an
schools-
example.
But I think all these are now operator driven, like a hotel where you get a JW or a ITC to manage your property. And similarly, now there are branded players in school and other forms of activity, including hospitals, which becomes very critical.
Agreed.
And I can just add, because of my experience in Bardwan, where we're doing a 250-acre township, and so it's always a chicken and egg story, because what do you create first? The market for the social infrastructure, or create the social infrastructure for the market? So it's a balance we have to play. I mean, I've been working in Bardwan for 12, 13 years now. We started selling there at 10, 15 lakhs. Today we've reached a price point of about 45, 50 lakhs. So because of the value additions we were able to provide over the years, we have 2 schools there, we have 2 hospitals there. These hospital land and buildings are owned by us, and they are on a lease model like we do with shopping retail. Now we are getting retail players on a revenue share. So it's about investing in the infrastructure. I think, the problem going forward would be also land parcels. You would not get lands in city and congested areas or already developed areas. The key is to make new cities. I mean, with India's population growth and opportunities that are going to come up, you have to create new cities. I really don't like the idea of government making those cities. The government's job is to provide us the infrastructure, build the roads, which both governments centrally and locally are very keen on now, build the rail networks, build the airports, and the rest private sector will take care of it. So, and in terms of capital, today there is institutional capital available. Yes, maybe Bengal is not their destination yet, but I feel it's a matter of time.
Rahul, these fund houses, Bengal has not been their destination because traditionally we have been very, I'm not getting the right word, but we've been very mindful of taking debt. The eastern part of the country has been very mindful about debt. That's the reason, though we have structured finances available, we are still not using it. So, Rishi, coming to you, you own the Holiday in Rajarhat. So my question to you is, even hotels are a new asset classes. It brings in a lot of volume business, but I know it's a very, again, a very intensive kind of a business. Your thoughts on that? first. Second, how do you see the West Bengal hotel industry? Do you think we need more rooms? How is it spanning? Just a very, full view on. Yeah, absolutely. Yashaswi, thanks for putting that on words.
So, good afternoon. The problem of being the last speaker in the panel, and especially speaking after Rahulji, is that all the points that you have prepared have already been said. So, I'm going to attempt to say something extempo, but,
we agreed to do extempo.
So coming to your question that what are the alternative, utilizations or the usages of our spaces that are done. So I have this very strong belief that residential real estate is the best business to be in. That is absolutely set. If you have your resources in place and if you have your, I would say, practices in place, then our ancestors in the real estate world have made rules or have, created the game in such a manner that as long as you are transparent, you are going to enjoy this business. The problem started when funny things started happening. I won't name cities, but Rera, Hira and all that are gift of a particular city to the entire world. And that has happened because there was no regulation involved. Now at least things are looking up. Coming to the point of alternative usages of projects and everything that is coming up, I think that it is, whether it is data center, whether it is warehouses, all this is a very minuscule portion of the market. The market will always be driven by four key pillars or four key drivers. One obviously being residential, two obviously being offices, three obviously being services. Now, services are very categorically again divided into essential services and entertainment services. So you have your malls, you have your hotels, you have your hospitals and everything falling under that criteria. The operator-driven model takes care of everything. I don't know what is the price of my hotel's room tonight, just as I am sure anybody who's a hospital owner would have any idea of how much a bed is costing or how much a doctor consultation is costing. And that is not our USP or that is not our core focus either. So just slightly touching on the question that was raised earlier, I would like to develop schools for my affordable housing project. I would like to develop playgrounds. I would like to develop everything, employment and everything over there. But am I the right person for it? We are clearly facilitators. We facilitate a better standard of life. So my role as a residential real estate developer will always be that I would provide you good infrastructure, and good infrastructure has to be utilized nicely by the specialist in that subject. Calcutta does not require introduction to those kind of projects. The Bardwan Renaissance project is a beautiful example for that. 2014-15, when we were exploring our Durgapur project, I have registered myself as a Bardwan customer on 5 different occasions. Sara data wahan se mil jata tha. So all I'm trying to say is that you have to create nice facilities and the rest would take care by the present ecosystem already. Coming to hotels, what I feel is that obviously there is a huge pent-up demand for hospitality and for hotel projects even today. Calcutta combined has less 5-star deluxe rooms than Delhi Aerocity. So that itself is a fact. And India itself, maybe, I don't know, this fact was correct 3 years back, now I'm not aware, but India itself has less hotels than one city in, one city in Thailand or something like that. So all these kind of facts just tend to tell us that we have the largest population. We have enough hospitality projects, brands to go around. All we need to ensure is the right traffic that is driven to our destination. And it is a medley of a lot of events. It cannot happen like I will open one hotel and suddenly the demand will start going over there. The bird's eye view is very simple. All hotels are packed. I mean, today after COVID, the revenge tourism has been, the sweetest thing that could have happened to the 2 years of pain and suffering that the hospitality sector has faced. So much so that now hybrids of hospitality and residential has started completely. We have a project in Rajarhat, Dream 1. Hopefully it is going to get something today. So, so we have a project, Dream 1. And what we have created is we've tied up with a international operator, the most famous operator in Thailand for that matter, which is the Dusit International. And we have tied up and we have created long-stay hospitality services called Dusit Princess Suites. That has happened because we felt that this is an apt location for the hotel. It's got enough traffic, it's got enough people who are looking for it, and the response has been fabulous. So the new models involve not just making the product and then trying to sell it, but understanding the need of the particular micro market. Now, that same model, if I try to put in, I don't know, maybe in Behala or in Thakurpukur, maybe it will not work. Maybe if I do it in Bombay Road, maybe it will work, maybe it will not work. But in Rajarhat, you can be sure that it works. Holiday Inn has 3 5-star hotels on the left within the first 500 meters. It has at least 20 hotels in its 5-kilometer vicinity, and it is an extremely tough and competitive market. Yet, all the hotels over there are doing 75-80% occupancy. The only reason is that traffic is so high, the number of people who are coming down to Rajarhat is so high that everybody will make money. So we have to focus on what are the macroeconomic trends that we can change or facilitate as an industry, what we can do better, instead of just, focusing on a particular fraction of the market. That's my 2 cents.
So, Rishi, very interesting thoughts. Just to add to, though I'm a moderator, but I couldn't stop myself from adding this point, that today we are seeing the layoffs of Amazon, Accenture, and all in the newspapers. But if you see a positive part of it, the RTO, the return to work, has now become almost 50% for these companies. So when there is an RTO coming in and people are going to go back to their cities where they were already working, the need for the co-living, which is like a one grade down of what you are already doing in Dream 1 complex. The requirement for the facilities will grow, and that is where we will see the demand also surging. And I think Rajarhat is the ideal destination for it, Rishi. I totally agree with you on this. So
regarding demand surging, I'll just give you one small example. Milan Mela, just next door to us. It's a state-of-the-art convention center, which is technologically more advanced than Pragati Maidan and these places which have been there for 10, 15, 20 years, right? Now that, since that infrastructure is there, you have ITC, JW, and a bunch of other hotels in this area with so many rooms. There is scope of large conferences, large weddings, large events happening, which has now started happening because infrastructure has been created for that. Just to give you an example, just about a couple of months ago, essential oils industry का एक trade fair होता है, वो यहाँ हुआ था in Calcutta. I know a couple of my extended family members who are part of the industry. My first question to them was that, how did you select Calcutta as an option to do this fair where people from Europe, US, everyone is coming? So they said, this infrastructure that is there, over 600, 700 rooms in the same radius, enabled them, and there were 2,000 attendees which came in there. There are medical conferences which are going to happen there, and a lot of other events have been lined up because that is existing today.
Yeah, the medical conference, the day it happened, there were not a single room left in the hotel. And we had to book our room for our CEO, and we did it in JW at obnoxious rates. So we can't tell that in public, but we managed to do that. So that's the kind of things which we never highlight. But the fact of the matter, we always say negative about this place, but there are very positive points which are still happening. So that clock is ticking.
May I jump into this topic
yeah, sure,
for a quick minute? Obviously, Milan Mela is one such example, but the Rajarhat facility, the Rajarhat Fair, the convention center, the Eco Park Convention Center, these are all examples of outstanding facilities that have been created. And everybody is going to benefit from that. So please bear in mind, 26th November 2023 to almost 7th December 2023, if you are looking to stay in Calcutta and you have come from outside, God help you. It is very simple. There is a doctor conference that is happening, and there is no other term for it. God help you. That's how things are
So
looking. Up.
message is you need more hotel rooms, which is also a message for developers to create
Absolutely.
such facilities more. There is enough opportunity here. And not only Calcutta, I think with the kind of development even the government is doing, today only in the newspapers, she was talking about her scheme of increasing the road network. Those are opportunities for us, wherever the roads are going. I mean, traditionally, if you look at Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, or those civilizations, they all developed near the river bank. Then people started living near the road. So development has always followed communication lines. So that's the job of the government. If they keep building roads, ports, infrastructure, development will happen.
Agree. So we have 14 minutes left and very two quick questions before we hand it over for the questions. So we were speaking about, clear, less titled, clean land. We just spoke a bit back, So what do you see, the construction cost is skyrocketing. We are seeing lesser parcel of lands with clear title, scarcity of them, and the landowners feel that if they're sitting on land, they're the richest people on this place. So the innovative thoughts of solutions have started, the innovative deals have started. I would want to prick all of you in this, prick your minds, and I want all of you to say, what do you think is the innovative way to do deals at this point of time?
I'll go first. So traditionally, if you go back 10, 15, 20 years into industry, usually all the developers would go on the outright model where they would be purchasing land and developing it. But nowadays, you're having various models through which you can do multiple projects at the same time without increasing your capital outlay as much. So the most, I'm sure all of you must be aware, the most relevant model being used is the JV model. In JV model, you're again having two subsets. One is area sharing, second is being a revenue sharing basis. So depending on the landlord and developer, you can work out a JV model, which is a win-win scenario because the owner ultimately gets higher realization through that as well. And for the developer, you don't have to invest upfront into the land. So that is one model. Second model also, which is in place, is a deferred payment model. So today, if Rishi owns a land, I approach him. And for whatever reason, if we don't want to go to an outright or JV model, I can always say, these are the number of acres of land, and this is, if it's a 100 crore deal, I can pay you 20 crores in 5 years. Link that to a JV sort of a model, but in principle, that remains a deferred payment model. So I think these are the two most prevalent models as on date.
Rishi?
So my thoughts on this are slightly different. Obviously, the asset-light model or the JV model works for all parties concerned. The landowner gets obviously a higher share of revenue as compared to an outright model, and obviously there is huge de-risking on the part of the developer. My thoughts are that the only reason unclear title or that land parcel gets locked or something of that sort is because somewhere some department has not kept the records and data updated.
Very, very strong point and very related point.
Our neighbors in Odisha, down south in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, they have done a fabulous job. And obviously, we are also making great strides in that area. But if there is enough education, if there is enough awareness that where exactly would be good avenues to check for the authenticity of a land title, I think this problem of locked land, unclear land, landowner feeling that the land is completely his, at the same time the legal office is saying that these are 4 asterisk marks, if you don't take care of them, then the project is at risk. That entire problem goes away if there is an online, easily accessible government portal. And yes, there are several projects like that in Bengal also, but I feel that just simply picking up and putting something from an Odisha or a Bangalore or any places, Dubai also for that matter, can easily solve this problem.
Rishi, I was part of the Made in Odisha event in December. I was part of the real estate event. And, You can't imagine how spontaneous decisions were being taken by the Chief Secretary of the Housing Board. He was part of that panel. And I was amazed at the speed of the thoughts that was flowing in. And they are so, they follow everything so minutely. They asked me to literally, give the minutes where they had suggestions from the developer community. So we pen down all our thoughts, all the sayings, and we send it across to them. So that's the kind of effort that the government is also taking out there. I totally agree.
So, see, according to me, there is no right model, and it is a horses for courses kind of a situation. In some land, JV might make sense. In other land, an outright situation might make sense. But see, it also depends on what kind of development you want to do going forward. If you want to be a city-based developer and do expensive projects in the city, then naturally the model which works is a JV. But I think going forward, at least that's what I personally believe, the pooling model would be the right model going forward, where the landlord comes in as an equity partner in the project. He gets a valuation of a land. So it's a hybrid form of a MG plus rev share. You give him a minimum guarantee, and then you have a waterfall mechanism where if you achieve more revenue, you give him a business plan. Yes, and then you keep giving him based on the waterfall, and there are enough mechanisms. See, in expensive land, that is the only model which will work for both the parties. The landlord will always make money, but it's a double whammy for a developer because if inflation hits, which it does, and maybe there is a slight delay, then really you are paying on both sides. You're increasing your project cost, but you're also increasing your land cost because the cost to build that square foot for him has increased. So it's not easy to convince a developer, but I know the national developers like the Tatas and the Godrej have started this model. And a lot of developers, in fact, are working with those in that model. So it's a matter of showing success. And look, as a real estate company, you have to look at any opportunity. I really don't like to say that this is the fixed format, resi. One of my friends does real estate in the US, and I visited him in Boston 7-8 years ago, and he was working on a project downtown Boston, but their feasibility suggested a parking lot. Because that was the opportunity at that moment. And, he's saying, I'll make a lot of money in 7, 8, 10 years. The land will still be mine. And then if at that time the opportunity for an office block comes up, I'll convert it. So, you have to see a long-term game. When you own a precious piece of land in downtown, you want to hold on to it for as long as you can. Can you milk the asset? Can you sweat the asset more? See, those are going to be challenges. It's not going to be easy to get land. We all are aware of that.
I think we all agree to that.
Yeah. So you have to milk whatever you have. So that's where you make money in real estate going forward, I think.
So I won't want you to answer a different question. So we've discussed on the models, but as I was saying in my earlier discussion that getting funding on land has typically, developers from East have not really taken that. We've been very pessimistic in our approach to that debt. Do you think that form of debt, if we are able to take debt in form of land funding? So there are many NBFCs and PE funds who are today looking to do that kind of funding for the Eastern region. Do you see the dynamics of real estate changing?
I'll answer this question, but let me first discuss about the previous questions
Perfect.
See, apart from the outright sale and the JV model, we currently have been looking at 3 land parcels where we are trying to do it in 3 different methods. One of them is, of course, the differential payment model, which Yashaswi already mentioned. Apart from that, another one is, which we have already done, we are trying to do it in another parcel, that is the rehabilitation. We had done the Moderator project earlier, where we had rehabilitated 800 refugee families. And
Must have been big.
It certainly was. It was a
rehabilitation is not small.
Yes, so it took a long period, but eventually it was basically in partnership with the West Bengal government, and we got a success there, and that has given us a scope that we can try something similar in private property as well. So that is another unique method where basically, because you understand that there is limited land parcels, so rehabilitation is another method that we can look into, and we are trying to do it in another project. We are still looking into it. And the last method is the development model, basically, where basically there is already a project, already the landlord is there, there is another developer that is there, but due to some...
the DM model.
The DM model, basically. So that is again something, for example, if we have cracked a formula where we understood that this product is something that can actually work very well at this land parcel. So at times we go into a DM model as well, where the guy who's coming in as the DM is not taking the risks. Of course, his profit is also much lesser, but that's okay. It's a win-win deal for everybody. It's a win-win deal for everybody. So that is again something that, so these are 3 new models that we are currently trying. And of course, there may be something more. Wo aage pata chalega.
Everything keeps, the concept of real estate, I liked Basanji's word. Barriers to aate rahenge, kuch na kuch solution hum nikalte rahenge.
True.
So in the interest of time, I think we've just 3 minutes left. Anybody would want to take the question on the debt land funding? Anybody?
See, it goes back to the point which Rishi mentioned, because of land record issues. What tends to happen is that when you take the debt on and you envisage that you'll be able to acquire land in, say, 6 to 9 months or 12 months, typically what has happened in Bengal and maybe in other states as well is that the land acquisition ends up taking 4 to 5 years. Now, if it's a pure debt, then your costs are going up. So then the viability becomes a problem. If these funds or these NBFCs are interested in a convertible model where it comes in as a debt but ultimately converts to equity. So if something hybrid is there which works out, of course it also depends on which land. Suppose it's a land being auctioned by the government, a land parcel. There, this will work brilliantly because the land is clean and the time lag will not be that much. So then you're happy to take on the debt because you're confident in 6 to 9 months or 12 months you'll be able to start the project and start paying off the interest. And of course, this debt has to have a large, I would say at least a decent amount of moratorium so that your repayments don't end up starting even before your project starts. That increases the pressure on your cash flows. So if these 2 things are in the favor or it's a win-win for both the developer and the institution, I think these will work as well.
Great insight. So I think we are running out of time. We have just 1 minute left. Anybody wants any questions, has any questions? Yeah, please.
Sunil Jaiswal from Bhumi. Yeah, thank you. Hi, this is Sunil Jaiswal from Bhumi Realtors. So as the panel were talking about the new possibilities which is in the West Bengal. So my question goes to Mr. Rahul. You were talking about the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor, which is coming from the Ludhiana to the Dankuni area, and the landing station is going to be Dankuni. So now my question is, how do you foresee the Dankuni area from the residential perspective, how it is going to flourish to cater to this dedicated freight corridor? Yeah.
Actually, there are 2 DFCs. One is the east-west, which is coming from Ludhiana, as you mentioned, and then the other one is going from Haldia to Vijayawada. Right. So there are 2, just to make it clarify. Naturally, like I said, I mean, these, once Dankuni already is a hub. You have a lot of industries happening there. If you just visit Dankuni now and you see the kind of development that has happened, it has become a hub. Now it's a nightmare. I travel to Bardwan and Durgapur every week and Dankuni is a mess. to solve that problem, the government is building the elevated road. There is a overbridge being planned on Dankuni. So I think Dankuni is definitely, look, my personal belief is you have to travel on Kona Expressway to get growth in Bengal. There is, we have a border. We have the wetlands here, which is restricting us. Joka is still a problem in terms of the road network, and there is no local trains or no connectivity inside Joka and beyond Joka, and then of course even end of Diamond Harbour is sea. So Calcutta has to expand, or metropolitan region of Calcutta has to expand westward. So for Bengal, westward is the way forward according to me. So Dankuni, Hooghly, where these guys are doing a lot of projects, and you see the success in the projects, and Ganga views become very critical, where they are doing a brilliant project. They've delivered, and I know a lot of people who live there, and they're really happy. And with currently it's still a little weak, but with inland waterways being developed, water taxis, which will come up in the near future, it'll be an easy commute as well. Metro will be next to you. You can come to Shialda. So, but that is the way forward. So, to answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we'll end the session.
Thank you so much. As we said, you can definitely connect to our speakers offline and come up with your queries. And for now, I'd like to invite Sapna Srivastava to present a token of appreciation to all our panelists. And ladies and gentlemen, what an invigorating session was this. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, these were our panelists, esteemed panelists, and what a beautiful session did they just lend us all. And now it's time that we move on to our next session, which is again very, very interesting. Real estate sales. Real estate sales trends to adapt in 2023. And even I'm very interested to, actually as a buyer, I'm interested in listening to all the sessions that we are going on with. Thank you so much.